13.2, day 2. Today we're talking radian degrees. So it's just like degrees, how we did yesterday. Now we're doing radians. It's just another way to measure angles other than degrees. So 360 is equal to 2 pi, 180 is equal to pi. There's kind of your converting. Now if we want to go between here, we're going to set up this right here. So we're going to do radians over pi equals degree over 180, and then solve. So this, it's already in degrees, so I do radians over, which we don't know, so I'll call that x over pi equals 115 over 180. And then I cross multiply. X times 180 equals 115 pi. Divide by 180. And when I do that, and I divide 115 by 180, and I simplify that, I get 23 pi over 36. Sorry, that's hard to read. Let's do the next one. So we do radians over pi equals degrees. We got negative 70 over 180. Cross multiply, get negative 70 pi equals x times 180. And divide, and when I simplify negative 70 over 180, and simplify that down into a fraction, it becomes negative 7 pi over 18. Next one, this time they gave me radians. So I do 5 pi over pi equals degrees over 180. Whew, that's a lot. Now, the nice thing is this pi and this pi cancel out. So it's really 5 over 4 equals degrees over 180. So I do 5 times 180 and divide by 4. And I get 225 degrees. Negative pi over 3 over pi equals degrees over 180. The pi's cancel out, so it's really negative 1 over 3 equals degree over 180. Cross multiply, and you get negative 60 degrees. Drawing an angle with the given standard stuff. Okay, so just like yesterday, we did the unit circle. On your unit circle, you should have, which I'm trying to find right now, and I can't find it. Hold on a second. Here we go. Unit circle. On this unit circle, you know that 180 is pi. So this point is pi, that's 0, this would be pi over 2, this would be pi over 3 pi over 2. And you can look at the measurements on here, and you can actually see pi over 4 is actually on here, it's right here. It's at 45 degrees. So it starts here and goes in the middle. And that's my angle. Let's keep going. 10 pi over 3. Well, 10 pi over 3 is like 6 pi over 3 will be 2 pi, so that's all the way around. That's all the way around. Then we're adding 4 more pi over 3. We're adding 4 more, and 4 pi over 3 is on your thing right here, so going from here all the way around. So I go all the way around to here, and there you go. Negative 5 pi over 6. Well, 5 pi over 6 is right here. So instead of going this much this way, I'm going to go that much the opposite way. So negative 5 pi over 6 happens to be right here, and I'm going the opposite direction. 11 pi over 4. Okay, well if we do 8 pi over 4, that's 2 pi, and I'm adding 3 more pi over 4. So I'm going around 1 time for sure, and I'm adding 3 more pi over 4, which happens to be right here. 3 pi over 4, just like that. And then going down here for my positive coterminal angle and negative coterminal angle, I'm adding 2 pi or subtracting 2 pi. So if I take pi over 4 and I add 2 pi, that's really pi over 4 plus, if I need it over 4, that's 8 pi over 4. 2 pi is 8 pi over 4. So really my answer is 9 pi over 4. Same thing for below, take pi over 4 and subtract 8 pi over 4. And I get negative 7 pi over 4. For 10 pi over 3, I add 2 pi, which is 6 pi over 3. I get 16 pi over 3. For negative, I subtract. So 10 pi over 3 minus 6 pi over 3 gives me 4 pi over 3. Oh, but that's not negative yet, so I gotta subtract another 6 pi over 3. Gives me negative 2 pi over 3. This one right here, negative 5 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6. I'm adding 2 pi, so it's over 6. It's got to be 12 pi. Gives me 7 pi over 6. If I take negative 5 pi over 6 and I subtract 12 pi over 6, gives me negative 17 pi over 6. Now we're going back to pi over 4, so same thing as this first one. We're going to add 8 pi over 4. So 11 pi over 4 plus 8 pi over 4 gives me 19 pi over 4. And 11 pi over 4 minus 8 pi over 4 gives me 3 pi over 4, but that's not negative yet, so I subtract another 8 pi over 4, and I get negative 5 pi over 4.